Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Relationship Circle podcast. I'm your host, Beck Thompson, and this podcast is all about helping you stop running in circles, ditch those dating games, and let your inner compass lead the way. Today, we have on the podcast Jack Bohannan, and we're very lucky to be here. I just had a power outage. Jack played along with my power outage, and we're back. So very grateful to be able to record this morning. Welcome, Jack. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I love the intro of that podcast of stop running in circles.
Yep.
Lead with your inner compass.
Yeah, ditch the dating games. And yes, is that the third bit? Yeah. I suppose that's it, because people just come to me and they're in these nonstop circles, and nothing more frustrating, hey, than repeating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Totally.
So Jack is a relationship coach specializing in attachment, and I still feel like when I asked Jack for this intro, this is what he gave me, and I still feel like he's much more than that. So you will see that throughout the chat. You will see the wisdom and the intelligence, and you're very humble, obviously, which is what leads to this beautiful, understated intro. But you will see the magic of Jack throughout this podcast. So grateful that you're here. Jack's business is called Polarity Unscripted. So I actually wanted to start there around like the importance or non-importance? Like what role, I suppose, does polarity play in relationships, and what is polarity for those who don't know what it is?
It's such a hot topic, this idea of gender polarity, where there's a masculine and a feminine, or even a divine masculine and a divine feminine, and that this is necessary for relationships. And I somewhat disagree, or think that it's more flexible than that. So I've lived periods of my life absolutely without any polarity in my relationship, where I was homogenous equals with my partner, and we're just two entities with distinct genitals, but that's it. And then I've also had moments of wild chemistry that was almost unsustainable based on gender polarity. So I think it is really powerful. And then we're in this moment where we've moved from neutrality, that kind of homogenous equals thing of friends and everyone's progressive and feminist, and there's all this friendship and good communication, and that's great. But we've moved away from that back into wanting some sort of differentiation between men and women. We want the excitement of being different. So there's all this content that you see online about masculinity and femininity, and you should be in your feminine and soft if you want to attract a man, because, you know, if you're leading with your masculine as a woman, you're never going to attract the man that you want. And there's probably some truth to that we don't want to be attracting each other from the same place. You know, opposites do attract, and things of the same polarity don't. That you're not going to meet someone who's complementary to you and exactly like you at the same time. But I see authenticity as much more important than polarity. And whatever's authentic to us is what's feminine or masculine. Like however you're doing you right now in the modern world, that's it. Like here I am the masculine, so to speak, or I'm whatever combination suits me. I definitely have feminine, quote unquote, feminine traits too. But here I am, I'm exactly how I want to be. And that's my most attractive self.
What if, like, I totally hear what you're saying, and I think sometimes people get lost in, like, who am I? Like, who am I authentically? Like, there's so much messaging out there telling people who they should be or how they should act or what's important for them to display. And so I think people get confused about how to be authentically them. And sometimes I see this when, particularly I work with women who've come out of relationships where it wasn't okay for them to be them, and they've been in it for 10, 15 years, and now they don't know who they are because they're not the person that was when they entered, and they're certainly not who the man told them to be. So they don't know, like, how do they find their authenticity? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes sad sense.
Yeah.
That happens to people, that we get bent out of shape by relationships that don't serve us, that don't fit us, or by messaging that you should be this way. You should be more feminine. You, as a man, now need to be sensitive and soft and communicative. We get all these messages about how we should be, when whatever our truth is, like you said in the intro, it's our compass. It's what's inside of us. We already know, like, whatever feels most pleasurable, whatever serves us and serves other people, that, like, be that more so than this archetype work of playing with polarity, though that can be fun too.
Yeah.
Like, all right, step into your warrior.
Yeah.
Step into your warrior, guys. If you've been doing the progressive thing, if you've been in this mode of trying to be more communicative and empathic and a better listener, if you've bought a lot of the messages of progressivism, it may make sense to experiment with stepping back into some warrior mode of being decisive and hard and clear and unyielding. And lo and behold, women like that a lot.
Is that what you find in your work?
Sometimes. Yeah. I see that women like a guy who has some directive, that he has knowledge of where he's going. He's clear on who he is, where he's going, what he wants, how he wants to be in the world, rather than floating around and responsive and communicative. That a lot of the ways that we've requested men to be in the last 10 or 20 years aren't all that satisfying to women, though they may have been making that request. Like, hey, why can't you be emotionally available and attentive in this way like my female friends? And there's something to that, being able to access that skill set and communicate really well. And if we go too far in that direction, something is probably lost that's actually more natural to them.
Yeah. So like, then the question goes in my head, how do people balance the, like, being authentically them and learning new skills that might benefit them in a relationship and still holding who they are authentically?
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, if you're being who you are authentically, why do you need new skills? And a lot of authenticity is finding what's resonant. It's an exploration to find what serves you, what feels good. When you try it on, what feels natural and comfortable. And also what's creating the outcomes that you want in the world. So far as being of service to other people. Like, is this getting you what you want? And if it's not, where do you go for the skills to do something different in your relationship, in your work, in your spiritual growth, whatever?
Yeah. I recently had a client that for the first time, we were redoing her dating app profile, and she doesn't wear makeup, and she just has dresses. Anyway, she always used to put filters on her photos, always put makeup, and part of her didn't love that because it wasn't her. So when she'd go to the date, they were a bit like, this is not you, because it wasn't her, right? So this is the first time that she was like putting all of her out there, including like what she liked doing and like just really owning who she was on the app, which was scary for her. But just about 2 days ago, she went on a date, or maybe last week, and she sent me a message saying, this is the first time I've been on a date where I didn't feel anxious about it because she was her, like, and he knew, and he liked her for her. And I just thought it was just such a good celebration, because I was like, this is why it's so important for you to be like authentically you everywhere here, because that is, like you said before, your compass, that is the filter, that is the first stage where you can like weed people out who aren't aligned with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes so much sense. And we spend the first 3 months of a relationship just kind of bullshitting each other, where we're like, oh, this is my best self. And I forget which comedian says it, but somebody has a gag about in the first 3 months of a relationship, you're not you, you're the ambassador of you.
I love that.
And it's so true that we do this song and dance for our partners like we have the filter on when we meet.
Yes.
And the sooner you can take it down, the better, because when you take it down, then people are actually knowing you, you're actually relating, you're actually having more fun because you got yourself showing up finally. Yeah. And otherwise we're just kind of doing this vague mask thing of trying to be a certain way that we're probably not.
Yeah. That's why I love, like, I always celebrate the first conflict more than anything, because I'm like, great, now we know how people respond under stress, and like, is this working like for you? Like, it's probably the first stage where I feel like the mask comes off, because people are just responding how they respond instead of having time to think about it.
It's like the relationship started, at the first conflict. Yes, now the relationship starts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And I love conflict. I want to ask, because I know you work a lot in the Somatica Method. So first of all, can you explain what that is for people? And I also wanted to know how that could play a role in if people are trying to figure out authentically who they are, can their body help inform them of that?
Yes, it can. And the Somatica Method is so cool. I'm such a fan. It's not something that I created. It comes from the Somatica Institute and the two founders, Danielle Harrell and Celeste Hirschman. Mm-hmm. And it's a type of really embodied coaching that creates new experiences for the client within a relationship lab. So it's a chance to experiment with what it feels like in your body to be setting boundaries and getting a genuine response from another human being and having the space to unpack that in a really safe setting or a safer setting where everybody's really open and communicative and the focus is entirely on the client. So topics like setting boundaries, exploring desire, experiencing reception, like receiving kind words. How is that to actually receive or to feel seen, to finally feel safe, to know that like we've done all this conscious meta processing such that we're really connected. It truly is safe. You can stop the clock and say anything you want. And when clients have that experience of being seen really deeply, really cleanly, without anybody needing anything from them, like a real relationship, they have a lot of their truth come out and a lot of their trauma resolve too. That yes, they may spend their whole life striving for this safe connection with somebody, this beautiful connection. And when it's actually real in a embodied relationship with a coach, it's not comfortable. All of a sudden, it's cause for hesitation, for major anxiety to come up. That here we are being seen, here we are together, we know it's safe, and suddenly being connected doesn't feel good to them. And that is profound, and it's such a quick healing moment to unlock whatever was under there. Because we may be saying we want connection, striving for it, and then there's something subconscious in us that's refusing it, or we'd already have it. It's not unreasonable to go out and find love in the world. It's very possible. But there's some part of us that deeply doesn't want it, that might sabotage it every time that we find it, or go out looking for what we recognize as familiar rather than actual healthy, communicative love.
And so when people, like, why is it that people don't want the connection, but why is it that people are afraid of that connection, or there's fear in some way, right?
Fear and shame. Yeah, fear and shame. That if we haven't had connection with people, if we haven't had our needs met, if we haven't had that feeling of being seen and acknowledged and accepted and connected, when we do connect with somebody and we feel that they're really seeing us, it doesn't feel comfortable. I was speaking with somebody else who works in this field, and she has her clients visualize their ideal partner walking over to them. And it's not a comfortable experience. They're like, oh, actually, whoa. You know, I don't want this. This is too much. It's too much at risk to feel like here's this opportunity to connect with somebody. And I'm going to be seen, and what am I going to be seen as? And what if this person sees my authentic self and then rejects me? If they don't want me, if it's not a fit, if love is right there and we're acting from our authentic heart and somebody's just like, yeah, I don't want your heart.
So scared of that rejection.
It's really scary. Yeah, it's really scary.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be, because it's a big world. And of course, people aren't going to want my heart. Not everybody. Like, everybody's not going to want my heart. I'm not, there's no proof in any particular situation or with any particular partner. There's no proof about who I am or my value. So there are millions, billions of people in the world, and it's not a fit with all of them. It only needs to be a fit with one or a handful. And how we resonate and align with ourselves is much more important than what we're getting as feedback from any partner, any particular person.
100% agree. I see this all the time I have clients that are like so okay with being like, no, he's not for me. No, there's no match there. And it's so black and white. But yet if someone goes to reject them, it's so deeply personal as to why that person didn't want to be with them or what's wrong with them now. And that's so interesting to explore with them, that they can have that on that flip side, they're okay with it and then turn it back around on them and it's not okay at all. Yeah.
Sure. Nobody likes rejection. It hurts, you know? I'd love to be accepted by everyone. That would be just great, but actually it's totally not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. But also like, I don't know if I would want to be accepted by it. Like that would be hard work. Like, I don't know. I like the older I get, I only have so much space for so many friends. And like, I don't want billions of friends. I want really close, intimate connections with people. Like so anyway, a bit of a tangent. Tell me about the authenticity and the body work and how that relates and how people can know what it might feel like in their body. Like how do people know they're making the right choices for them or the aligned choices for them or that they're being authentically them? Like, can you talk through that? I just want to quickly pause the episode here to tell you about my upcoming free Love Unlocked Masterclass. Maybe the reason you haven't found love is because you feel you aren't worthy of love you deserve. And I'm here to tell you that you are, and I want to give you the steps on how you can start loving yourself first to attract that worthy love into your life. In the masterclass, I cover 3 steps straight away, which are uncovering past patterns, understanding emotional needs, and learning how to communicate and set boundaries to amplify your self-worth. Details can be found in the show notes, and I cannot wait to see you there.
it feels good when we're making the right choices. It might not feel easy all the time, but it feels healthy. It feels authentic. It feels aligned. And we get in this place where we're just in our head and we're thinking, God, should this be this way? Is this appropriate? Is their behavior appropriate? Am I reacting in the right way? Am I blowing it? We're so in our head about everything. And we kind of know when we drop into our body. And the more we do it, the more we know that, this feels resonant with my center. This feels like I'm in a centered place, and maybe something exciting or anxiety provoking is happening. Like life has its arousal, both positive and negative, but we can tell when we're in our center. So some of this work, and I imagine some of the work you do, is about finding that center, that neutral place where we're cool. Like, this is me. This is me when I'm myself. This is me when I'm at rest, when I'm at peace. And when I'm at rest and at peace in connection with another person, when somebody else has all their attention on me, what's that like? And from that place, we can make better decisions and have more knowing about what's right for us.
What if people have never experienced like healthy relationship with themselves or with others? Like, how do they... And they, I suppose when you say like it feels good or it feels like it's centered, they might not know what that actually feels like for them. So how to is there things they can practice to understand it, like smaller tests for themselves or something, so that they can practice understanding what it might feel like in their body? Good
question. Yeah, absolutely. And without that experience of healthy connection to yourself or healthy connection to other people, we're very unlikely to go out and recognize it in the world. If you've never had a healthy relationship, how are you going to find it? How would you know if it was like right there in front of you? You're probably going to blow it off and then go find what's familiar and exciting and do the same pattern over again. You're very likely to go do what felt compelling last time and what was pressing all your buttons. And if you haven't had an experience of a healthy relationship, it's really hard to find it. So some of the work that we do is helpful in that you're re-experiencing connection. And most of my clients are women. And there's something really powerful about doing this type of exploration work across the gender divide. Yeah. Because there's a degree of reality that's happening in the moment that, yes, here's a male face and a masculine presence, if you will, attending and being in communication and being in connection and having these new experiences, receiving, exploring core desires, whether they're romantic or sexual, on Zoom, and even role-playing some of that out to a degree where we're sitting in the moment and figuring out what it feels like to set boundaries and find that center and be in connection with somebody in a way that is really open, great communication, where the client is in control of what's happening. That, yes, there's a degree of like reality where my nervous system creates some feedback for somebody else, and I can use that authenticity to guide their understanding of what's happening or what another person's experience might be. But at the same time, I have no needs in that moment. Like, my only need is to be a good support and a good coach. So the focus is entirely on the client. And that's a beautiful place, because usually in a relationship, like, everybody's trying to get their needs met. Everybody has their insecurities. Everybody has their like little frustrations and microaggressions and the ways that they're quirky and really leaning into somebody to satisfy themselves. And in this type of structured connection, it's all about the client. It's like spacious, and the time is there and the container is there to really explore things without having to worry about someone else. And in fact, like we were saying before, I really want criticism from my clients. I really want their heat. I want their fullness. If something felt off, let's talk about it. Let's sort it out. If I said something that just seemed jerky, or that they know was well-intentioned, but just stepped on their toes in the wrong way, it's so welcome for them to bring that, and we can talk through it, feel through it. And that can be the most productive moment in coaching, in this relational work. Yeah. So it's like a safe container-ish. Like, it's definitely a safer space for experimenting with relationship. But some of the most beautiful things are the flaws and my flaws and the ways that I might not connect with the client, and we can repair and experience what that's like of rupture, and then coming back together can be profound. Like, some of the best work happens with those imperfections and all the two-way vulnerability that can be there. Yeah. I hope people are really hearing this. And if not, please rewind a little bit and listen, because like what you're saying is really important, because I think so often we want to be this, we want to be this perfect image of what we think people want us to be, but also we search for perfection in others sometimes, but it's not really what we want. Like, it's not really what makes us feel connected and loved and all of the stuff, and the imperfections and when things go wrong. Like, that's the most powerful part in a relationship, is the repair. Like, yeah, you can do conflict better, but if you can do repair, great, you've got this, because that's a real chance to be vulnerable and connect on a deeper level and understand each other. And so, yeah, I just want people to really hear that you don't need to be like, you are perfect, just being like, I love the word perfect in terms of, because in my head, that means like that you're just you. Like, you're perfect as you are. Like, it doesn't mean that everything is in place and, but it means that you just show up as you, and that is perfect in my world. You could not possibly be any better. Yeah. Like just how you are is how you are. It's like the judgment doesn't even need to enter the equation for what's perfect, what's ideal. And yeah, we strive to be perfect or feel objection to our partner when they're not perfect. And I love disappointment. I think it's so mature to find disappointment in a relationship and then to continue with connection. Like we miss so much if we can't tolerate any disappointment in a connection with another person. Like, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. And perfection is disorienting. It's a weird concept. Yeah.
Let's talk about disappointment, because I know a lot of women that listen to this podcast have kind of grown up being people pleasers and definitely not wanting to disappoint people. And they're very good at reading the room and reading people's expression so well that they might say something and they'll notice if the person is a little bit off with that. So then they'll readjust their strategies straight away. It's quite a clever strategy, but it gets in their way of experiencing that disappointment. Like, do you have clients that also experience this, and how do you support them in understanding the importance of disappointment and how they can do that, not necessarily comfortably, but just do it, I suppose? How can they sit with that disappointment?
It's so important to do that. And so scary if a lot of our conditioning, especially for socialized female, if a lot of our conditioning is to be pleasing to other people, to be worthy, if we need to assert something that might be disappointing to people, like a boundary, then that can be really fearful. That's scary territory, to think that we're going to damage a relationship, cut off connection, and that's going to mean something about us. Woof. That's a lot. So this idea of disappointing someone else is scary. It's also powerful, because we're talking about boundary setting at some point and being authentic, that this is my truth and I'm okay with this and I'm not okay with this, and I'd like you to do this. At that point, that's a great, open, communicative relationship. And it's also risky, because when we say what we want, we might not get it. And the person might say, this isn't the connection for me. Like, I don't want to know you anymore. Worst case scenario. Rarely happens, but this is something that we can make less scary through experience in coaching of setting boundaries and looking at what comes up around that. Because it's so important for people to know who you are in relationship. And if you're just pleasing them all the time, you're kind of BSing everybody. When are you pleased? When do you get to be disappointing? Like, you get to be disappointing too. It's not just about other people.
Yeah. You just reminded me of when I was younger. I don't know how long ago, but a while ago, I was definitely, the way I connected with people was by talking about other people. So I was super gossipy. And I didn't like it, but it was the only way I kind of knew how to build relationships, is if we both talked badly about another person, we would have, which this might shock people.
Sure.
And I remember a friend said to me once, I don't want to talk about other people with you. And I was so offended. Like, I was so disappointed in them. And I remember leaving being like, ugh, like how ridiculous. And it probably took me like a couple of days. Then I was like, oh, no, I don't like that behavior in me either. And like, this is actually something I want to change. And I don't know, like, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know that I would have changed it if someone hadn't called me out on that behavior. And so I was actually so grateful to her for saying, I'm not going to engage in that. Like, I don't want that to be part of our lives. And now that's what I say to other people, because it just is not, it's not useful. It's not productive. It's not nice. Like, it's not kind, So I think having that moment where she definitely disappointed me, and she would have seen on my face that I wasn't happy, but she did it anyway. And knowing that kind of turned our relationship around and changed my life and the way that I interacted with people and not with people, So it was super important. Yeah.
What a gift to give you. And it's just her honesty. Like, hey, I don't want to talk about that.
Yep. Yep.
And it's not, as you say that, I'm not hearing that she was expressing a judgment towards you.
She wasn't. I took it personally.
Like, I don't want to. Yeah, sure. And sorted it out pretty quickly too. Yeah. That you're like, oh God, actually, I don't want to talk about other people either.
Yeah. Because like when you talk about how it felt in my body, I never felt great doing it, but I didn't know what else to do. So, yeah. A
lot of the ways that we connect don't feel great to us. Like, oh, here it goes. I'm doing it again. Yeah, I'm signing on for another one. I'm caught up in the whirlwind of relationships and old patterns. So I think a lot of the people out there probably feel you that sometimes it doesn't feel good what feels habitual, our normal ways of getting our needs met, don't necessarily feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting what you just said in terms of like that people, I think it's such a powerful point to be in the middle of a behavior and go like, oh, I don't want it. I don't like this. Like, what's happening? Why am I doing this again? And then like even still doing it, right? Like I say to clients all the time, if they're going to set a boundary and they don't do it. So let's say they say yes to something that they wish they'd said no to and they feel about it, but they do it anyway. At least they've got the recognition of like, that's what it felt like in my body when I went against what I needed. When I went against my own boundary, this is what it felt like. So just remember the feeling in your body to do something differently, because that's, I think, still a lot better than just having no insight or recognition of what's happening to you when you go against how you feel. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. That just having that new awareness is a type of new experience. And the funny thing is we can have that intellectual awareness of like, I'm doing it again. I understand all my issues from childhood. And here I am behaving the same way. It's almost like something else has inhabited my body and I'm just watching myself do the exact same things and having the exact same reactions. So a lot of my clients find themselves in that place. And I've certainly found myself in that place of having all the therapy under my belt. Like, okay, I did the work, so to speak. And why am I still having these connections come in, or these same patterns come in to my life that are just mirror image of what was before? It's a rather horrifying place to be. And some of my clients use the expression that they're dating the same guy with a different face.
Yep.
And we tend to do that until something really shifts, until there's some deeper work that happens. That intellectual understanding, it's cool, it helps, but it doesn't get us all the way there.
Yeah. So how do people shift out of that? Like if they know they're doing it over and over again, what do you suggest that they do to change the actions that they do?
Call up Beck. Her link is in the show notes. You can find her on beckthompson.com or whatever her website is.
I'm not paying him, guys.
There's a place for like taking some time and putting in the effort to do some sort of therapy or coaching, and to find something that really feels like a good connection with a person who gets you, who you feel like you're jiving with. I think that matters more than going and finding the absolute secret sauce of whatever acronym you want to pursue for therapy. I personally think that somatic work is really cool, that intentional relational work is very helpful. And this method of the Somatica Method has helped me a lot as the client, and also in learning about it, that, okay, here's what relationships should feel like. And I don't need to be freaking out, overwhelmed in my avoidant attachment. I don't need to be doing this squirrely run away from relationship thing, because I can actually talk to the person who I'm relating with and say, oh, I have this coming up. Am I okay? Am I okay? Is it okay that I'm like, I need to set a boundary? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. Thanks for saying. And let's talk about it. What's that like for you? And if you need to take space, great. So there's all sorts of reconditioning that can happen with new experiences, and people kind of get stuck in that intellectual mode, especially around the trendy attachment theory stuff, which has been around for 50 years. Yeah. But as we're re-envisioning our relationships now, it's a really popular topic, and a lot of content out there about it, and a big emphasis on labels and intellectual understanding and diagnosis, and especially figuring out what the heck is wrong with your partner. And
labeling them.
How to label your partner.
That's
even better than labeling yourself. Totally. Label yourself too, but just label everybody.
I'm making a webinar on that for sure.
Yes, how to label your partner.
How to fix your partner. You are not the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, never. It's funny that people learn about attachment theory and they can very quickly see how it applies to them. It applies pretty accurately and pretty well to a lot of people who are having distressed relationships over and over. So they'll read something or hear something, watch a webinar about it, and they're like, oh, well, I'm that one and my partner's that one. This makes so much sense. I get it now. Oh my God. And then beyond that, people don't have a very clear idea of how to go about addressing those issues, either in therapy or within their relationship.
And a little bit like when I first did personal development, I was so excited and came home and told my partner everything that we needed to change in our relationship. And it's funny, like, I think sometimes this person goes out and researches all the things. Yeah, not great. All the things that you like need to do differently. And then you come home and you blurt it all on the other person. The other person's like, whoa, I'm just having dinner. Like, I am not where you are. I've not been in the reading hole you've been in. And like, you're basically saying all these things that are wrong with me and what I need to do differently. And then usually, like you were saying yesterday, I think that the anxious person will go and do all the research and the readings. They're going to probably come home to the avoidant partner and go like, here's what's wrong with you. Please fix you. Why are you running away?
Yeah. And he wants nothing of it, you know? She's like, oh, you should totally read this book. And he's like, whoa, no, thank you. So, yeah, it's such a place where we feel gratified in understanding something. It's like, oh, here's control. I have some wherewithal in how I'm showing up, what my tendencies are as a person. And yet it doesn't, like, the rubber doesn't meet the road with intellectual understanding and relational outcomes, in my opinion, in my experience, in my personal experience of having a lot of therapy, of being in a relationship with a woman who was a psychotherapist for years and years and years. Yeah. Yeah. It's intense. It's intense. And I mean, she's a great person, as crazy as I'm crazy. Like, it's a wild dance, and to have a lot of great communication, almost too much communication, and still not much shift or change there in a satisfying way. It's difficult. I empathize with people who are going through it, and they feel like they've done all the work and it's still not quite what they want.
I mean, it's interesting though that you say like engage with a therapist or a coach, because sometimes when people say to me, I've done everything, and then I go, well, what have you done? And then they go, well, I've read all the books, I've listened to all the podcasts, I've read all the blogs. I'm like, well, but have you put anything into actions? Anything changed within you, or just you have a lot of knowledge? Like, I actually have this one client who, whenever she gets into this spiraling mode, she reads more and more and more, and she comes to me with all these books she's read, and I have to say, stop reading. Like, no more information needs to go in your brain anymore. Like, it's like, you don't need anymore, because you're actually taking away from the knowledge you have of yourself within yourself.
A client texted me today with a message about like what he has learned about ideal parent figure protocol. And I haven't done it yet, but I think I'm just going to text back like, damn it, Jeff, stop understanding things. And I changed Jeff's name just to protect the innocent.
That's it.
But,
poor Jeff.
Like, oh God, well, we've handicapped ourselves now. He understands. So, yeah, there's so much to be said for new experiences. Yeah. So as you were saying that, I was like, God, maybe they could just jump in the car and go hitchhiking. They could just hitchhike across the country and meet all sorts of cool, weird people. And I'm not actually advising that, but it's something that would shake the world up a little. Like, have new experiences. Yeah. Go find new connections, experience random novelty. Yes.
I want to talk briefly about attachment, because I know you've got a webinar on, almost merged the words masterclass and webinar then, a webinar on,
a masternar.
On attachment.
It's been extinct for years.
I know you've got a webinar on attachment. So like, talk to me about the role that attachment plays in your work, or that you see in relationship, and what you teach people on it.
It's something that's been so core to my life and my suffering and my resolution and self-actualization that, I just feel called to it. And I've developed a specialty in it When I became certified in the Somatica Method, I realized, whoa, this works really well for attachment reconditioning, that this is profound to have these new experiences that remap old experiences. When we have a new experience of something, it changes our old experience. So we're going back and filling in the blocks that we're missing in childhood. So not everybody knows what we're talking about with attachment theory. And it's the idea that early experiences in life affect later patterns and behaviors. So especially with primary caregivers, if we had the conditions to be healthy, well-connected humans, then we're probably going to go find that in the world. And if we didn't, we're not gonna. It's very unlikely that we're gonna spring up into this healthy experience that was denied to us just by circumstance, possibly through no fault of anyone involved. It's not like a blame your parents type thing. But there are a number of things that need to be in place in a child's life to feel secure attachment, where they're having a healthy connection with themselves and a healthy connection with other people. Without those things, it's just not happening so far as having a healthy relationship later. That in one of several ways, we're not coded for it inside our brain. Our habits were adaptive in childhood, but they're not adaptive in romance or even friendship or colleague relationships at work. So we find that we fall into one of several types of disturbed attachment. And people are pretty familiar with this, even if they don't know about attachment theory. But you've heard of an avoidant online. Someone with avoidant attachment is a person who feels really overwhelmed by connection for good reasons in their history. They are more likely to want space and pull away. And then a person with anxious attachment is more likely to want more reassurance from their partner and feel really upset when their partner pulls away. That's a perfect setup. So when those two get together, it's a really dramatic dance. And there's a third type of disordered attachment too, fearful avoidance. And it's kind of a combination of both and tricky. And all of them have their historical reasons and basis coming from our upbringing. And it's our responsibility to sort it out now. So that's some of what I help clients do, is sort out that neural conditioning and re-envision what's happening when they connect with people. Because when we re-experience it, either in connection with a coach, therapist, or somehow if you stumble into a lover who has secure attachment, that's a type of re-experiencing. Like when we re-experience it, that's one way to go about putting those pieces in place so that we can find our security and our self-alignment. And another way is simply visualizing and imagining those experiences occurring in a really structured way. That we know a lot about the components of a healthy attachment environment and can basically go back and put them in place. So that if you're suffering from anxious attachment, there's a certain pattern that you're fitting, and the process is almost methodical to address that in terms of re-experiencing, re-envisioning those components of secure attachment. And same thing with avoidance or any type of attachment disturbance. There are components to the recipe, and it's not baffling or complex to resolve those. And it is profound because our attachment style and our attachment health affects us in all these areas of life, that we're more resilient if we are in a place of secure attachment. We're happier. We are more confident. We feel more self-aligned. Like there's all this good stuff that comes to us in that place of security that is backed by research. It's dramatic in that there was one study on the outcomes of boys who were sexually abused in the same orphanage. They experienced the same conditions and the same abuse, and based on their prior attachment style and the security of their their attachment and relating, they had way different outcomes on how their lives were affected by that abuse. So it's this foundational piece of being human, of how we experience the world and ourselves and our strength, that some of us get in childhood and others have to earn. So it is very possible to achieve earned secure attachment, is what psychologists would say, that it's earned secure attachment, which means you did it yourself. You went and got out there and were proactive and self-aware enough to figure out that something wasn't working. How can I make it work better? And I am very fortunate and proud to have done that myself, and have had experiences that were challenging and difficult, and to kind of pull it together.
I often find that in my mind, the more I think about attachment styles, there's like they're on a spectrum, you know, like, if I think about myself who was like anxiously attached, and I believe I'm now securely attached, but there's still moments where I have that anxiety might flare up. I don't respond in the same way. I don't feel the same way in my body, but it's still present sometimes. And so therefore I feel like there's like this spectrum of like secure and anxious, for example, and where I land on that may vary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. There's pretty sophisticated metrics that psychologists apply that are like degrees of disturbance and types of disturbance and attachment. And I don't think we need to be perfect on that either. Like, we don't need to come to this place of perfect health in that I fully expect to carry on as I have in certain ways, that I'm going to be much less affected by the issues that I had, but that's still my style. That's still my type of relating, that I'm likely to go into these patterns, but in a much lesser way, and just not be affected by them. Like, I actually don't want perfection. I don't seek it. I don't seek it for anyone. It's like, we're pretty much fine how we are. And that's a very secure sounding thing to say. Like, to come to that place of like, it's fine. We don't need to strive or be perfect or be different. That's pretty close to security, in that we're really okay with ourselves in that moment, and expecting that we're going to be okay in connection too. So that's the definition of healthy attachment and secure attachment, is that we're okay being alone. We're okay being separate from our partner, and then also okay being in connection and having people rely on us and relying on other people. It's like, we can do both with ease. We're really comfortable being alone and being in connection.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. We could talk for another 5 hours. This has almost been an hour. Tell people how they can find this magic webinar and you and your work. And your website is so beautiful. I went on there before to like find a bio, which is impossible for this man, because you're so understated. And I just got stuck reading the beautiful words. So tell people how they can find you and work with you, and everything will be in the show notes. So look there as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not magic, but it is a webinar. I'm happy to connect with people for a consultation too, that I do a free consultation that I'm always interested to connect with folks. So if they want to do that, they can go to PolarityUnscripted.com/heal for that webinar, or connect on Instagram with @PolarityUnscripted. That's me.
Amazing.
And my name is Jack Bohannan. So I'm here for you. I'm pulling for you. And thank you back for having me.
No, you're so welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for listening to the show. If you got value from this, please don't hesitate to share with a friend so they can get value from this too. And don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss an episode. It's also how I keep this podcast alive.